President Muhammadu Buhari probably gave us the shocker of our lives by saying that nothing happened, nobody died.
Guys, as e dey hot, Rufai don blast President Muhammadu Buhari over his speech that nothing happened, nobody died. In fact, there is no any violence in this 2023 presidential election. This country don finish despite all the evidences wey full for social media. President Muhammadu Buhari talk say nothing happened. Guys, make una watch this video and hear what Rufai and Dr. Abati has to say. And don't forget to share your thought with us.
I saw the United States congrats, but it was very, very measured. After congratulating him, they called for calm. They also talked about the fact that there were quite some, irregularities in the process. I think it was the State Department report that came out, and that also talked about, what is happening in the country as we speak today. But most importantly, called for calm, as that people should look forward to the 11th of March elections. President Macron, although I've not seen the official message of President Macron, but Nigeria and France, go a long way back. And if you remember historically, I think our first back and forth were as regards the nuclear testings in the Sahara in the 60s, and that really affected the relationship between Nigeria and France. But since then, we've been able to patch up things. So congratulations are coming in from the world leaders. Although some people will say it ought to have come in immediately, but it took a couple of hours after. But I'm sure once the certificate of return has been given, then the world leaders will be able to take suit and follow suit. He made a lot of promises. He said he wanted to reach out to the youth. At first, this was more measured because he stuck to the script. There's something called sticking on message. It was different from the very first engagement, where he called somebody a gorilla. I can still get that off my mind. I don't know why. That was very unpresidential anyway. And the fact that, he tried to address concerns, say the things he will do, connect with the people and all of that he wants to be their president too, and all of that was quite measured, calling for peace and solidarity. And after that, he went to see President Muhammadu Buhari, and President Muhammadu Buhari probably gave us the shocker of our lives by saying that nothing happened, nobody died, nothing happened. And somebody will wonder that did President Buhari take out time to read the papers? Because Dr. Abati kept on saying his advisors. I even feel more shocked, and I cringed. And I'm sure if I checked my blood pressure when you said that, it will have spiked, because a leader is supposed to be able to get his own ready-made first-hand information. That I will have thought, for what it's worth, that the president of a largely young country too should have been going through social media at that point when the election was happening. Or probably his phone was seized, or maybe his phone has no internet connection. Or the president should also be watching television, like we see other presidents in the world do. They should also be able to read the paper to ventilate the pulse of the people. If I'm commander-in-chief and I only depend on what my advisors tell me about the pulse of the people, then it's a sad reality, really. You should be able to ventilate the pulse of the people. So I'm shocked, because for him to be able to say, oh, goodness me, nothing happened, it was all free and fair and all of that, then that leaves much to be desired. But on the flip side of the argument, a lot of people will say, what do you expect him to say? A man that, was in charge of these elections will not say the elections, are bad. And you see, when you look at our public space today in Nigeria, we don't really have men. Gone are the days, Yorubas have a saying, Ilenjeyon. What it means that the ground keeps taking good people from us. You don't have men like Musa Yaradua that can stand up tall and come out to say that the elections that brought me into power were fraught with irregularities. You don't have men like that any longer. So what do you expect President Muhammadu Buhari to be able to say? That he will definitely commend the elections. But on the flip side of the argument, a lot of people in their camp and the APC will commend the elections, but the international community have also been talking about the elections. The observer bodies have been saying otherwise about the elections.
The U.S. State Department was saying that, look, this is an important moment, period, the statement used. But they made a point that Nigerians should explore, aggrieved persons should explore establish mechanisms for dispute resolution. And what are those mechanisms? It's simply another way of saying go to court. Yes. Don't take the laws into your hands. By the U.S. State Department. The State Department also pointed out the role of youths. And that's something that we should not overlook. The youth bulge, the zeal of the youths, the determination of Nigerian youths, since, of course, they constitute the majority of voters in this election, between the age bracket of 18 to 35, 34. If you stretch it further to 49, then you have 18 to 49 constituting about 75% or close to of the people that voted, that turned out for this election, including those who were tactically or structurally disenfranchised. Chatham House attacked INEC in one of their reports. They accused INEC of failing to meet its own guidelines and regulations, short of saying INEC broke the law in this election.
Which Nigerians have been talking about anyway.
Reuters had a story saying Bola Tinubu from Godfather of Lagos to President-elect. The meaning of that their title, of that their story, is in the subtext. Bloomberg focused more on the challenges ahead. He says that this president-elect, he will have to address Nigeria's $13 billion debt. And that is the major work ahead of him. They went a step further to say that this presidential election in Nigeria has been very messy. I'm not too sure that many people would disagree with that. Then, Financial Times, I think you had that on the screen. If you look at the details, Financial Times' conclusion is that this has been a deeply flawed election. And they described the president-elect as a wealthy political fixer. So almost suggesting that the election was fixed. The BBC relied more on statistics. BBC says, look, Nigeria has elected a president with the lowest turnout since 1999. And they pointed out that with 8.7 of the votes, that's just about less than 10% of the total number of registered voters at 93.4. And that if you look at the percentage of people who voted, not more than 27% in a country of over 200 million people. So this is how it's been reported. Not so much enthusiasm on the part of the international community. The leaders that have issued statements, well, that's in line with the diplomatic tradition. You don't expect the State Department or Rishi Sunak to be criticizing Nigeria. That will not be part of his brief. But the newspapers took a different tack, and they were more frontal in trying to raise questions about the process. So what is the sum of all of this, in my view? The sum of all of this, in my view, is that INEC, if they read newspapers in INEC, should take all of these on board to know that the international community is watching and that people are reacting and that there have been reactions.